until June. Oh, until June, basically, I didn't use a laptop. I was using a workstation. So I sort of didn't want to give the talk yet because my setting was very different to most people here. But since June, more or less, I use a laptop, and I have started doing backups regularly since then. So I think it's more applicable to everybody here. But as a disclaimer, my lawyer would like me to say that I'm not expert at all in backup or security, so don't follow blindly what I say here. It works for me, but you should obviously make sure that you understand what you're doing and test anything that is related to backups, okay? And also, my setting is probably more complicated than yours. I modify a lot of configurations. I connect to as admin. I have many services running, etc. So maybe it's more complicated than it should be for most of you, but the idea is that I wanted to basically share what I do with my laptop, how I take all the backups, and maybe you can mix and match. Maybe some things are useful, maybe some things are not, but at least I show you how I do it, and hopefully you can get something out of this. So, well, because it's going to be, maybe it's going to look a bit complicated, the first part is basically a sort of motivation, whether you actually really need backups. I hope everybody agrees that you need one, but at least, I mean, now with laptops, I think it's even more necessary than many years ago, or a few years ago. If you have a workstation, the risk is much smaller. The workstation is always sitting in your office. You don't have the risk of losing it or dropping it or somebody stealing it, etc. And now basically, if you are like me, now your office is your laptop. So there is a lot of risk involved with basically dropping it, losing it, somebody stealing it. So you have to make sure that, well, you have to ask yourself that question, right? What would you do if you were to lose your laptop? If somebody steal it in the tram, in an airport or whatever, probably it's a quite catastrophic situation. So you probably better start taking some measures to avoid that being a problem. In my case, my personal motivation for having a good backup strategy is that I was doing my PhD in Edinburgh, and right after I left, a couple of weeks after I left, I think, that building got fire. That was where I was working. Uh, they had a fireproof cabinet where they put all the backups, daily or weekly. I don't remember exactly how often, but they managed to recover basically everything. Okay, but that was a good scare, and since then, I think, well, maybe that's why I take backups quite seriously. And with laptops, you have a lot of different risks. You have obviously human error. You can just delete files by mistake. The disk fail quite often, the hard disk. The laptop can be lost, stolen, dropped, etc. And these days, it's taken, I mean, it's even more important than a few years back. All these ransomware attacks and everything. And so you have to try to protect against that as well. That's why I also have the encryption part. Okay, there is a lot of identity thefts situations or ransomware, and especially, I mean, with your laptop, probably the most critical part is identity theft. Okay, if somebody steals your laptop, if you are not protected, then they can basically check all your information, and that can be quite damaging. So I took some random statistics out there in the internet just to motivate you to try to convince you that backups are necessary. This is just the statistics for hard disk failures. So they pointed out around at 2%, between 1 and 2% disk failure annually. So at some point, the disk is going to fail, so you have to try to protect against that, obviously. As per theft, it says here, this is only for the US, but over 2 million laptops are stolen every year, apparently. And the important thing is that, well, 97% of the stolen laptops are never recovered, and 1 in 10 is actually a theft victim, okay, as they experience identity theft. I don't know if the statistics are similar for Europe here, but it's a good reminder that you should be aware of, and you should try to protect yourself. Also, I mean, there is now, as probably you heard about this one, the Esquema Nacional de Seguridad, and this is something that is coming to us. I don't know in which shape for the moment, but definitely is coming to us at some point. So maybe this of backing up and encrypting is not going to be an option anyway. Probably it's going to be something that they demand that we actually end up doing. So at some point we probably have to start doing it anyway. And I just the other day before the talk, I decided to just collect a few of the news that I get about ransomware attacks. And this was only in 3-4 days. Just maybe my news sources are a bit biased, I don't know, but I collected loads of them. Okay, so there are attacks everywhere. They are attacking IT services. I don't know, the Auckland University of Technology, some health institutions, a lot of them. This is, yeah, I think all of them have the date somewhere September 22, September 23. So there are plenty of them. So I guess it's a matter of time that I hope not, but maybe a matter of time that we suffer that here as well. So you better be protected as well. So then, with the motivation out of the way, so I was going to tell you how I do it, okay? And maybe let's start with my overall situation, and then I will go just to show you the tools that I use to do it. So, well, my laptop is Linux. It's similar probably for Mac OS. For Windows, I have no idea how you do it, okay? But the tools, well, this is not a tool, but what I tend to do is take my operating system and the disk, sorry, and divide it in two partitions. So one for the root and one for the home. So everything that goes in the root partition will be all the system stuff, the operating system itself, all the programs, etc. So that's easily recoverable. It's not my data. It's just the operating system, so I can recover it quickly anytime. And so that part, I don't bother to actually encrypt or anything like that. There is no sensitive information in there. And then the other partition is the home. This is all my own stuff. And if I were to lose this, then basically I cannot recover most of it. Obviously, I have bits and pieces here and there, but it would be quite difficult to actually recover everything. So that's the part that I will do all the backup. And that one is the part that I want to encrypt. So if somebody hacks into my computer, they cannot access that one. Then those two partitions, the backup for each of them, I handle them differently. The system backup, or the root partition, basically I have something similar to a time machine in Macs. So I have it running here in the laptop, and the backup itself, it's stored in the hard disk of the laptop as well. So that's not obviously a very safe backup, because if the hard disk fails, then the backup is also lost as well. But that's not meant to be a full backup or anything like that. It's just basically useful to revert to it's like keeping a snapshot. It's useful in the case that I want to update the kernel or some other software. So if something goes bad, I can go back to the previous snapshot. Then I also do, well, because this is done in the laptop itself, then I also do a clone of this partition, of the root partition, to a Borg machine. So the idea is that I will actually make a clone in another machine. So in case that there is a disk failure or something, I can just, I could get a new disk or a new laptop, and I could just get everything back. It's just a perfect clone. And for the home partition, this is the one that I have to take more carefully. And so basically what I do is I encrypt the home. So all the partition is encrypted. And I also double encrypt some other stuff. Okay, I have a file with passwords. and a directory with private documents, and I double encrypt that one. I will explain you why in a minute. Then I try to use version control as much as possible. Okay, it's not normally considered a backup tool, but it's fantastic for protecting against yourself. You make a lot of mistakes, suddenly you delete some files, whatever. If you learn to use version control properly, then that's going to save you in a lot of different situations. And then what is an actual backup is I do a synchronization similar to what you do with OnCloud or one of these services, Dropbox or something. I synchronize everything continuously. Anything that is stored in this laptop, I synchronize it to a burro. The synchronization, because I keep everything encrypted in the laptop, the copy to the burro is already encrypted. So if somebody were to actually hack the IC, the data that I will get in the burro is already encrypted, so they cannot get anything. And then, okay. And then what I do is, at the end, what I do is the incremental backups from the burro to external NAS. Okay, this is the overall situation. I will go little by little. So the first thing, probably you already know this one. The tool that I use to create partitions. I mean, normally, probably you even get this if you get the laptop pre-configured from the cow or something, you will probably get something like this. But if you do it yourself, I mean, if the tool that I use is gparted, you can use other tools as well. But it's just to the tool to actually create the two partitions, the one for the system and the one for the home. And this is useful also because you avoid having problems with the system if you fill the home, but also so that you can have different backup strategies for the root and the home partition. Anyway, but this one is probably not new to anybody. So this is the first one that actually can be considered new regarding backups. Okay, so this is similar to a system backup. Sorry, similar to Time Machine in Mac. So this is it's called Time Shift, and basically what it does is by default it takes a new snapshot. I think every day at some point, and it keeps 5 of them. Okay, and so the idea is that for this one I use only for the system, so for the root partition, and it is done. This is failing so much today. Yeah? It's done automatically, and basically, well, as I said, there is no protection against physical damage to the laptop or if it's stolen or anything, but it's very useful in case that you update the kernel or something that you can, you see here that there are different snapshots from different days. So then normally what I tend to do is whenever I'm going to install a new driver or whatever, something that it can impact on the system itself, I take a snapshot, takes only a couple of minutes, then I install whatever, and if there are some problems, I can revert back to the previous one very easily. So that's for the root partition. Then this one, I don't know if you have ever heard about this one. This is a tool called Clonezilla, and I've been using this for a long time, and it actually it can be quite useful in case of an emergency, right? So the idea is that you can turn off the laptop. You have to start it like with a live pen drive, and you take the whole partition, and it makes a perfect clone in external hard drive, or it can do the clone in many different places. But I normally just do the clone in a external hard drive, and then the good thing is that if I were to lose the laptop, I could get exactly a new one. I just connect the external hard drive, and I ask Clonezilla to replicate the system. So it will do the partition for me and copy all the data, so I can be back in business in a matter of minutes. So this one, I only do it very seldom, every 3 months or so, because normally, I mean, At the beginning, when you are installing the new laptop, you install a lot of code and make a lot of changes. But after a while, it sort of stabilizes, so there is no need to have a copy very often. And this one, I don't need to encrypt the data because it's just the system itself. So no point in that. I don't care if somebody gets the system because it's public everywhere. So then that's the system that probably maybe you don't want to do depending on your needs, but the home is the one that is more important. That's right. That, eh? Uh-huh. The, luckily, I have never had to use it in real life. But what they mention in all the documentation is there is no problem if it's large. The problem is if it's smaller and it doesn't fit. So, but if you were to make a recovery in a larger hard drive, I think the partitions will be as the previous one, so it would be smaller. So you would get some left space. Later, you can do whatever you want. I mean, after it's recovered, you can use gparted, for example, to increase the partition. But by default, I think what it does is recreate exactly the size of the partitions that you had when you make the copy. I think it's no problem if, yeah, if the hard drive is larger, no problem. If it's smaller, obviously it's a problem, but I don't know if you can configure it by hand as well. Because imagine that it was, I don't know, 2 terabytes. And now the new one is only 1.5, but maybe you didn't use the whole 2 terabytes. So probably you can say, okay, just make it smaller and all the data. No. It copies only what is used. No, this one, it knows what is actually data and what is not used, so it makes it much smaller. And the good thing is that on recovery, it will partition everything automatically for you and stuff, so it's much cleaner. But yes, luckily, for the moment, I haven't really used it on the web. Now, for the home, this is the real meat of the backup. So what I do is encrypt my home. There are two types of encryption that you can do. One is with at the kernel level, and one is at the user level. This one is at the user level. Okay, so when I install the system, the the partition was not encrypted. I encrypted afterwards. And what I do is I have one directory that is encrypted, and then uh, when you log in, then that is mounted in another directory, and so you see the unencrypted data. So it's transparent once you set it. You just log in normally, and the same password that you use for logging in is the one that is used for decrypting, and basically you don't see anything. I mean, you don't have to do anything special. And well, this is done with this tool, GoCryptFS. And so this is good for securing the data if I have my laptop turned off, because if you want to see the data, when you will have to know the password to log in. But this doesn't protect you from physical access to machine or remote access. If I leave my laptop here and I go somewhere, if I leave the room, if you come here, you usually see all the data and you could copy it. Okay, so then that's why in my case, I also have one password, one file for passwords, etc., that I encrypt with GNU PG, and then a whole directory that I encrypt again with GoCryptFS. So it's just like a second level. So normally when I log in, you could see everything, but there is one particular directory that I keep encrypted with my snapshots of pictures of my passport or whatever. So to access that one, I have to use GoCryptFS to the encrypted on the fly. It's just like a security measure. So because somebody could access either physically or maybe by SSH or something, so they could access to everything. So then I have just a second level of encryption. Okay, so it's coming back to life. Then on the backup, as I said, the I use actually version control a lot. And I recommend that you use it as much as possible. I mean, it protects against human error, which in my case is very common. And I don't know if people use it very often, but maybe there is a confusion. Git is, well, I use Git. There are other version control systems, but Git is nowadays the most common one. It's different to GitHub or GitLab or whatever. If you use Git only on your laptop to control, to version control anything that is text, it's really easy. You don't need to actually upload it to a repository online or anything like that, but you can keep versioning. Basically anything that I do, for example, for this talk, I just do Git commits every time I do a few changes. So then I can recover very easily what you have done in the past. So it's not a really backup system, but it's definitely something very useful. So if you were to only take two advices from this talk, I would actually try to use version control as much as possible, and then the other tool that I'm going to explain later. Okay. Not helping today. So then on the home directory, because I want to protect from accidental damage to the computer or whatever. So then I do, as I said before, I synchronize the data to another machine. Okay. For that, I use this software called SyncThing. The principle is similar to, yeah, for example, Dropbox or OnCloud or whatever. But this one, you can configure it so that it's only one way. Okay. Normally for Dropbox, for example, if you have two places, if you delete one file here, it will be deleted here, or if you delete here, it will try to synchronize. I don't want to. I want to consider what is in the laptop, like the golden copy. So I only do it one way. If you go to the workstation where I keep the synchronized data and you delete something, that file will not be deleted in the laptop. It's only one way. Okay, it will tell me that the data in the workstation is sort of that is not a replica of the laptop anymore, so that some local changes happen, but it will not get replicated to the laptop. So I prefer to keep it like that. So whatever I have in the laptop is the golden copy, and I synchronize everything constantly. So if I change now a file in a matter of 1 minute or so, it will be copied to the workstation. And because I use this encryption that is not at the kernel level, but is at the user level, what I do the copy of is not the unencrypted data. What I copy is the encrypted data. Okay, because when you use the kernel encryption, as far as I know, I don't know if there is some way, but everything is done transparently, but you don't have access to the encrypted data anymore. Everything is unencrypted once you log in. With this system, with the GoCrypt FS, you have access to both directories, to the encrypted and to the unencrypted one. So then that way, what I synchronize to the workstation is only the encrypted data. So if you were to actually gain access to the burro where I do the copies, everything will be encrypted. And yeah, and the software that I use for that is SyncThing. It's quite easy to set. It takes really ages the first time you do it, because I have like 400 gigabytes here, so the first time that you copy takes quite a while. But after that, basically, I don't notice anything. I edit some files, whatever, and it's constantly synchronizing it to the workstation. And so that one is the part where I copy the home directory to the workstation, but that's not a proper backup. That's only synchronization. And so if I delete something in the laptop, it will be deleted in the copy in a matter of a couple of minutes. So then the actual backups is I do it with a tool called Borg. And as I say here, if you're new to backups or you want something simpler than what I do, I will concentrate on this one, okay? You can ignore the rest and start with this one. This is, it could be quite similar. Well, I never have used it, but I guess it's quite similar to the time machine in a Mac. So basically with this one, you can make copies, for example, every day. I do it with a cron job. And you can copy every day all the data. So what I do is in the workstation, I run this code every night and I copy it to a local disk. Okay, and this one I'm going to show you now some commands on how to use this one, because this is, I think, the tool that most people, at least those that don't have a proper backup strategy yet, the tool that will be most interesting. Until recently, I was using some other tool called RDIF backup, but it was very slow. This one is actually very fast. I mean, I do it every night, and the backup directory is something like 400 gigabytes or something like that, and it takes to find what has changed and to do the synchronization, to do the backup to the NAS. Basically, takes only a couple of minutes or 3 minutes, something like that. So it's not heavy. Okay, since you probably got lost already, I made a figure with all my overall strategy. So this is my setting. Okay, so I have, well, if you read about backups, they always recommend to have the data in 3 places, and if possible, 3 places, different locations, and physically separated. So in case that something happens, okay, obviously it's not good if you keep the backup in the same computer, because obviously something, you drop it or something, you will lose both. If they are both, if you keep it in different computers, but they're in the same room and there is a fire, but then you're also in trouble. So the idea in principle is what they recommend is to have 3 places, 3 copies in different places. So this is what I do graphically. So this is my laptop. I have these 2 partitions. This one is the root, so the operating system will be here. The I meaning that this is not encrypted. And with time shift, I do copies of the system basically every day into the laptop itself. Also with clone Scylla, I make copy of the system, of the root partition to the workstation. So in here I can actually keep a number of copies. So if at some point I realize that some drivers are not working or whatever, I can recover the system either from here, or if the laptop is damaged, I could recover them from here, from the clone Scylla copies. Then the other part of the laptop is the home partition. So this one, it's all encrypted. I put here that I double encrypt something, some passwords and a private directory. And then with this tool, with SyncThing, I synchronize everything to the workstation. So this is a synchronized copy of the laptop. And then with Borg, I basically, every night, I copy, make a backup to a local NAS that we have. So, and here I keep a number of copies, so I can recover from the past. So that's the overall strategy. And as I said, the most useful one for almost everybody will be probably this one, Borg. So let me explain a little bit more about Borg. This is maybe too technical, so you can forget about it if you don't know about backups. But if basically, I mean, probably you heard about different type of backups that you can do: full, incremental, differential, etc. And this one, Borg, is actually, they call it a bit different. It's the duplicating backup program. What that means is that if you read the documentation, this is meant, for example, for a situation in which I I have a computer and I want to have a lot of users, and I want to provide, for example, the same file for all the users. And then what the system will do is, but not one copy, but one copy for each user. So what the system will do is recognize that the files, even if they are in different directories, they're actually the same file. So it will not make copies of that. It's just for data servers and things like this, that they will try to minimize how much data it's stored. But and so in my case, that's not what I use it for, but in any case, it worked quite nicely also for backups of personal data. And if you read the documentation, they will also say that for encrypted data, it's not ideal. Why? Because when you have a file, if you change one bit and you encrypt it, then the file will look like it's completely different to another one, to the same file without that bit change. Okay, so if it's not encrypted, you change one bit, and it will recognize that 99% of the files are same, and it will not do the backup. Once you encrypt it, that's gone, and it will recognize that there are different files. So in theory, this whole idea of the duplication will be wasted. But in this scenario, I mean, if it's for a copy of a laptop, that doesn't matter, okay? Because you normally don't have 20 copies of the same file in different directories. This will be useful for a server that takes care of many users, but in this case is no problem. Anyway, forget about all of this. If you take my word, Borg works very well for making copies of a laptop, even if you encrypt it. Okay. For example, here, if you read at the end, in my case, for example, if you can read it when this wants to work. In my case, for example, my data is something like 400 gigabytes or something like that, and the backup directory ends up being something like 800, and that's I keep the copies something like 17 copies or something like that. Okay, so it actually managed to realize that only a few files change from day to day, and so it's not wasteful at all. Okay, so then for Borg, for any other backup tool, basically you will need to take some decisions, because it's important to know how many backup copies you need, or how many you retain. If you go and read about backups on the web, you will get a lot of 3-letter acronyms: recovery point objective, recovery time objective, whatever. This is normally obviously not of concern to us. This is meant for businesses and maybe large institutions, whatever, that they have to make sure that the cost and benefit of backups is what you expect. For personal use, you can, at least I completely forgot about all of that. And what I do is what is called a grandfather, father-son scheme, or grandmother, mother-daughter scheme. And so what I do is I do a daily backup every night. And then the important thing is to decide on how many copies you keep. Okay, so how far in time you want to be able to recover. So for example, when I was using the previous tool, it only allowed to have to say how many. So then I would do a backup copy every day, and then I will keep like 21 copies. So that meant like 3 weeks of backups. But that's not very a good idea, because yes, you have a lot of copies, but in time you can only go back like three weeks. So then with Borg and other tools, of course, you can do this type of a scheme. So the grandfather, meaning the monthly backups, father the weekly, and the son the daily one. So what I do is keep this. So I keep 7 daily backups, 4 weekly backups, and 6 monthly backups. So I keep daily one for the past week. Then after that, I only one every week. And after that, I keep monthly. So I can go back to in October to April. But obviously, in April, I will have 1 copy. In May, another 1. And in between, I don't have daily backups. But you can obviously you have to decide more or less how much you want to keep. So for Borg, if this is the one that you're going to use, actually is quite simple to use, okay? So in here, in here you have basically almost all the commands that you will need. So the only thing that you have to do is when you you have a path to repo, wherever you want to actually keep your repository. There are different ways to create them. You can do it through SSH, you can do it in a second disk, whatever. In my case, for example, I mount with NFS and the NAS. So I'm in the workstation and the NAS is mounted through NFS. So this is just a regular path, but also you can do connection through SSH, etc. You see that there is also a possibility here of encryption. So if you want, you can encrypt. In my case, I don't do this because all the data is already encrypted. So there is no point in adding extra burden of encrypting when making the copy. But for example, this could be a possibility. If you want to have your laptop and you don't want to go through the hassle of encrypting your laptop data, you could actually say, okay, I want to do the repository for Borg encrypted. So when you do the copy, the backup copy from the laptop to wherever you are storing the data, it will encrypt it at that time. It will be slower, but that's a possibility. You don't want to through the whole mess of encrypting your laptop. Although I recommend encrypting your laptop, but maybe don't want to go to that at the beginning. So then that will initialize the repository. Then backing up data is actually quite easy. So you just have to say Borg create, and then you give the path to the repo, and then you give whatever name you want, and then you specify the directories. Okay, so that will create a new copy of whatever you have. If you want to list all the archives that you have created in that repository, just Borg list and the path to the repo. If you want to restore data, you use the struct. You can delete an archive. For example, you want to delete the copy that you did on Monday. And I forgot one here. That is, I put it in here. There is the prune one. With prune, basically it will delete previous copies. Okay. And then with compact, it's just to recover the disk space. Basically, if you read the documentation for these 5 or 6 commands, you can perfectly get start with Borg. Well, not a start. I mean, basically, you have everything you need for doing backups. So at this point, I wanted to have like a little demo. So you see that it's actually working. So the idea is that I wanted to simulate that I have some file here in the laptop that I deleted it by mistake. So then I want to recover it from the system, from the backups. Okay. So in this case, this is going to be more complicated because all the things that I have, all my data encrypted. So the backups are also encrypted. If it was not encrypted, it will be much simpler. But in this case, I go for the full thing. This is how I will do it in case I lose some file. Okay. So I hope you can read it, right? It's not too small. So in this case, for example, imagine that I have a file in my download directory, something called backups something, and I delete it by mistake. So in my computer here in my laptop, I don't see the file anymore. Then if I connect to the workstation, this is the workstation where I keep the synchronized data. So everything that I do here, it will be immediately copied there. So if I'm in that machine and I go to the directory where I keep my synchronized data, if I try to look for the file in the downloads directory, it's not there either because this is, I mean, it's a synchronized copy. So it just after one, if I was very quick and only 1 minute or so, then probably will be there. But if you look after a couple of minutes, then it's gone. So then I have to recover from the actual backups. Okay. So I'm using here Borg list. So I want to see all the archives that I have. And in this case, for example, you see this. This is the whole list. You see, I don't know if you can read, but yeah, yeah, it's good. It's large enough, right? So then you can see, for example, here, this is the date. So this is, I did this 5th of October. So then I have copies for the 5th, for the 4th, the 3rd, etc. So these are the 7 daily copies. Then at some point, there will be some other that they uh, they are separated by a week. This is not exactly a week now because I was doing tests, so I was also doing some other copies. But after it stabilizes, it will have 7 daily copies here. Then it will have 4 weekly ones, and then you see at the end also that there is something from June, July, and August. I got the laptop in June, so there is nothing going more back in time. But so this will be all the list of copies that I keep. So I can recover the file from any of them. If I go, for example, to I want to see if one of them has that file that I deleted by mistake. So I can do for list, and I can specify. This is a bit ugly, but this is how. I mean, you can just basically list all the contents, but obviously it will be thousands of files. So you can specify something like this. So you can say, oh, sorry. I don't know how to get rid of that. It's just in the way. Can you? Uh, uh, okay. So then basically in that one, I mean, it's just saying, I want to list all the files that are in that archive, but I want to, syntax is not very pretty, but it says remove all of them and add whatever stops with backup talk. So basically get rid of all the files, show me only the ones that have a backup talk in the name. So then if I do that, then this is what I get. So then it tells me that indeed there is one file that is here, and it tells me the date, etc. So if I'm happy with that version, I can recover it with well, I'm going to create a file to download, well, to copy all the files from the backup, from the archive. So with this is the command Borg extract. So well, it has a number of options. Stripped components is just to get rid of the directory names, okay? Because if you see here, the directory name is scratch1, Ángel, backup, etc. I want to get rid of all those, the first 4 components of that, and I want just to I can also, like, if you know rsync or something, this is similar. I can do try run. So just show me what you will do without doing it, just to see if it looks okay. So for example, now in this case, I'm trying to recover the whole downloads directory. So this is what it will recover. And then if I get rid of the dry run, then it would actually get all the files from there. And at this point, it's actually copying them. Okay, so and you see here that it got rid of the first 4 parts of the path. So what I basically got a downloads directory with all those files. So I can check that the backup file is actually there. Yes, it's there. And if I do the file, if you don't know the file command, that's just to check if it's what type of file it is. It's an image, it's a PDF, whatever. So if I do file in this one, it tells me it's data. So that's because it's encrypted. So when I created the backup copy, this is encrypted. So if you get these files, they are not used to you at all. So then what I have to do is decrypt them. This is obviously a step that if you don't encrypt all the data, you wouldn't have to worry. But in this case, I just create 2 directories, one to hold the encrypted data and one the unencrypted data. with Go Crypt FS, the only thing you have to do is you have to copy a particular file that is the configuration file that you, when you set the Go Crypt FS, it's you have to create this one. So then whenever you want to decrypt something later, you have to use that file. So I copy it to the encrypt directory, and I also move the whole downloads directory to that encrypt directory. So now you see inside encrypt, I only have the downloads, that is what I recover from the backup, and then the configuration. So now I just have to use the go crypt fs command to, it's very easy actually. The only thing you have to do is go crypt fs. First you put the directory that holds all the encrypted data, and then you put the directory that you want to use to mount. Okay, I don't know if all here understand what mount is, but I mean, it's not that it's copying the data there. It's only like it's a mount point. So it works like if it was a regular directory. So you see the encrypted data, but it's not physically there. It's done on the fly. So it's just mounted, and if later on when you unmount the directory, the data is gone. So it's not physically. So then with that one, it asks me for the password. I put it there, and then if I check the unencrypted directory, then definitely I see a downloads directory there. If I check the downloads and the backup file, it's there. If I do now a file of that file, if I use the command file on that file, then I see that now it's an ASCII test, okay? And I can actually see the contents, no problem. All went well if you are reading this. Apparently the recovery did work fine. And then, as I told you, this is only a mount point. So what I can do is I just do the unmount command. It's called like this, user mount. I do the unmount. And then in the unencrypted directory, there is nothing, okay? All the remaining data is only the encrypted one. So this is what I would do in my case if I needed to recover some data from last week or whatever, okay? It's a number of steps, but in my case, it's more complicated because of the encryption, perhaps. If you only do the copy with Borg without all the encryption, it will be simple. So, and that's all on my side. So just to conclude, basically, maybe the first conclusion is that I'm at least slightly paranoid. Probably no need to go to all this length, but I think at least this way I sleep better. I know that my data is safe. And I think even if it looks like a lot of work, I think it's worth it, and I think you should prepare a backup plan. At some point, somebody near you or yourself is going to lose the laptop, is going to get stolen, something. So if you want to avoid problems, I think you better do it. The sooner the better. And actually, as I told you, I mean, my setting is much more complicated than what most people probably need. I think if you start with something like Borg, you can get, if the only thing that you need is to actually get the Borg program and manage to get some external storage. It can be a external hard disk, or if you have access to a project NAS or whatever, you can also do it there. And it's very easy to set up. You can get it working in a matter of in 20, 30 minutes, you can get it working. The only thing that you have to do is basically identify what is the critical data, decide on the frequency of the backup, and decide on the retention policy, because obviously at some point you have to decide, I mean, you have to take into account how much space you're going to use and how back in time you want to be able to recover, etc. But it's quite straightforward. And I would really recommend to actually get it done. Whatever you do is better than nothing. So if you start with something simpler, even if it's not encrypted or whatever, then I think it's better than nothing. And with this, I think the projector also wants to kick me out of the room. So I'm done.
Very much, Ángel. Now time for questions, comments.
you are talking about encryption, I guess you need to keep somewhere this encryption key for this encryption. It's a file or several files for.
You keep it on your head.
But I mean, is it just a password or a file?
I mean, in my case, for example, to an encrypt, I mean, in that file, in the configuration file, the password is encrypted itself. So, but it's but when you type it, you just type the password. It checks with the encryption copy in the configuration file, and then it decrypts.
So you need just the password for the key which is encrypted in the directory which you need to disencrypt.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, it's a password. So okay. when I turn on my laptop, basically I log in and I set it in the way that the same password that I used to log in is the password to decrypt the whole home directory. So I don't have to do it in 2 steps or anything like that. I just log in and that's it.
So it's not something like keeping SSH key or something like that. So it's just a password. Okay, then another question about this Borg. So this flow between son, father, and grandfather, is it automatically? I mean, when you say like every day, then every week, and every month, so the flow between, like when you have a backup like 2 weeks ago, will it automatically go to a backup like when a month passed?
Mm-hmm.
Will it like become a backup a month ago, or you need to do it manually?
No, it's all done automatically. The only thing you specify, I mean, to decide that I do the backup daily is a cron job. So I just say, okay, create a new backup at 9 o'clock. I do create a new backup, and then in the cron, what I do is create a backup, and 1 hour later or something, use the prune command. The prune command is the one that actually takes care of controlling this. So basically in the prune command, I say daily 7, weekly 4, and monthly 6. And it will just keep that. Actually, if you want the gory details, everything is explained there in the web page for the prune command. So it tells you exactly how it works, how it keeps, but it's everything automatic. You only say, I want 7 daily, 4 weekly, and then it will automatically delete what it's not necessary anymore.
Any other questions? Comments?
Regarding the Borg tool, the way it works, so it keeps a sort of a hash table of all the files, or like chunks of the files. Do you know the low-level technicalities?
I checked when I was because I mean when I decided for Borg, I was looking for different alternatives, and at some point probably I knew, but now I don't remember anymore. I mean, I think it keeps the chunks and it all together it keeps a database of where the chunks come from and etc. Because this is more complex than for example RDF backup, because it does this the duplicating thing. But I don't know exactly the details of how it works internally.
But those are really chunks, so those are not separate files. I mean, I'm trying to lead you. I mean, the way it works is practically how the kernel of the Git is made, or not.
If you try to go into the directory where the copies are made, you will not see any recognizable files. It's stored in whatever format they want to keep it, but it's not. You will not be able to see, okay, this is a directory that I want to recover everything. If you want to actually see what's stored in there, you have to go through the tools, the Borg list and all that. It's stored in whatever format.
This hash table, is it stored like a database, or have you ever? I mean, I'm just curious. What is the size? What is the overhead? Have you ever checked what is the overhead for storing this kind of information?
Yeah, I mean, check here. I mean, my laptop data is 440 gigabytes. The whole directory for Borg, where I keep something like 17 copies, it's 800. The truth is, obviously, I mean, I don't know how much I change daily. So from day to day, I don't know how much I add, but I'm keeping stuff from months ago. So I'm sure that if you look at all the data, I mean, 17 copies for only double the size of the actual space that it takes in my laptop, pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
else?
I don't know if online.
Online is good. Maybe
I don't know if there is anyone online.
there is always. And you say you say it's very simple. I think if anyone has used, for example, this time machine on the Mac, basically you open the interface, which
Yeah, I mean, this is simple, but it doesn't have a GUI, so you have to basically read the manual. But it's literally these commands. It's literally these 5 commands. So once you do the init of a directory where you want to keep the data, then creating a new copy is just this, or create, and you give the name and the directory that you want to copy. So if you know how to put this in a cron file, basically you're done. But, I mean, in my case, for example, what I do every night is create a copy and then do the prune command to get this retention thing. Because obviously that depends on you. I mean, for example, if you want to create a copy every day and just overwrite whatever it was written yesterday, then you don't have to do the prune. You could delete the copy from yesterday and do the, but obviously that's not very good idea. It's better to actually create a new backup every day and then use the prune command to get rid of all their stuff.
the strategy simplifies a lot because you basically run one cron job a day, so it's aligned in your cron tab, and then the deletion strategy is the.
Yeah, I mean, basically, in my prune file, I have these 3 commands. So create, prune to remove the old ones, and then compact, because compact is the one that, like prune is like you mark it for deletion, but it doesn't really delete. So it doesn't recover the file and the space in the disk. And then the compact is the one that will actually get rid of. So the space doesn't blow up. So it's those 3 commands that I do every night. So, not a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would be nice to have an actual example of editing a cron tab, which
Let me
some
see.
people may not be familiar with.
Doesn't matter. So, I mean, the relevant part for Borg is just this one. So I Borg create. I just put the compression, and this is well, just the paths. Then I do the prune one, and this is where I specify. Where I specify how many I want to keep daily, how many weekly, and how many monthly, and then the compact. So I run this at 9, then this one in the morning, 7 and 8 in the morning.
To edit this, you just need to change the L from tab.
Sorry?
To edit the entry, instead of cron tab minus L, you do minus E.
Well, yes, I mean, normally I edit it by hand, and then I just I have a txt file for cron tab, and I just do cron tab and the name of the file.
Okay. There are no more questions. We'll leave it here. Thanks very much. And
Okay.
let's everybody back up.